I'm just going to take a couple moments of your time to walk you through some of the changes that are new and current in our IDEA system. So this talk is really geared towards those who have been clients of IDEA for a while, or you're familiar with the system, particularly the paper-based process. And I just want to give you an opportunity to take a look at the ways that we've updated onto our newest platform. So that's what you see here in front of you now. You're seeing the newest version of the IDEA platform that's been made to be more consumable, digestible. All of the information that you're used to seeing, I'll show you that here in a minute, on our 4-page paper report is right here. So you have the ability to very quickly see the response rate of the class. You can see all of those areas in the summary evaluation on page 1. You can toggle now between the raw scores, the adjusted scores, and that level of comparison that you're used to seeing at the IDEA level, the discipline level, at the institution level. Now you're able to toggle between each of those and only see the part that's most relevant at that time. But then also all of that other information that you're used to seeing, the description of the course and the students, those are all now collapsible and expandable. So again, it's been designed to be consumable, even color-coded, as you see the distribution of the scores. I'll talk about that more here in a second. To give you a very quick overview, synopsis, consumable representation of what you're used to seeing on the paper form. Again, that 4-page paper form is now been digested into this and allows you more control over what you want to focus on at first. So for example, again, that color coding is brought across. You can see where things fit in that distribution on our T-scores. This is the description of the student characteristics. Each of these areas you click on and can expand and look more closely at. So for example, here's an example of the difference between the raw scores and the adjusted scores. This is the progress and relevant objectives. So all of this ability to switch back and forth from your different levels of comparison and the different scores carries over into the different parts of the system. As things are more towards the right, you're on the upper end of the distribution as the boxes move more to the left and they start becoming darker in color. Then you're getting below the average, I guess, on that bell curve. And so again, just real quickly gives you the opportunity to look and go, okay, I can see where things are working well. I can see where I want to focus on first. In fact, that leads me into a story I want to tell, a true story that was told to me by a client, a faculty member who was an expert in chicken breeding, was asked to teach Introduction to Human Biology. The expertise that they carried in their discipline, though, did not carry over into how they communicated that information with their students, and this became very evident at the end of the semester when they looked at their IDEA ratings. Fortunately, the chair of the department understood how the system works and was able to walk the instructor through the plan of action that you can take from the connection between the teaching methods and the learning objectives, and then say, here's what you need to do first. So what you're seeing here is that page 3 of the form, and on the left-hand side, you're seeing all of the teaching methods that the students rated, how frequently they observe these teaching methods happen. In fact, they're in their subscales, but they're collapsible. So if you click on one of the scales, the stimulating student interest one at the top, for example, it shows you the teaching methods inside there. If not, it's collapsed, and you only look at the part that's most relevant at that time. And then on the right-hand side is that suggested action column, which you would be familiar with seeing in our reports. If it's green, then you're seeing a correlational strength between the teaching method and the learning that was targeted as important or essential. Keep doing what you're doing. As you get to that yellow, you're right in that area where maybe you'd want to try and adjust things. And as you get to this darker color, you'd say, well, consider increasing use of this teaching method. So when you click on that teaching method, it's going to show you how frequently the students said they observed that teaching method. It's going to show you the distribution of that. But then there's this part in the middle where it's also talking about which of the 3 learning, in this case it's 3 learning objectives that were selected as important or essential for the course. This teaching method is highly correlated with one of those learning objectives, gaining factual knowledge. Again, I mentioned you could see the distribution of the scores. So to the right of that suggested action, there's a link there that takes you directly to what might you do next. So you click on the link and it's going to take you to our website, and it talks about teaching method number 8, stimulating students to intellectual effort beyond that required by most courses. It gives you the background of the method, helpful hints to how to incorporate in your class if you're teaching it online, assessment issues, and a great deal of references and resources. So going back to that example of the instructor who was the chicken breeder and needed some help, previously they would be given a page that looks like this and then say, okay, now teaching methods and the learning objectives. Here's some strength to retain, or here's some things to consider increasing use. This information, it's all the same information, but now it's back into a format that looks like this. It's a lot more intuitive, and even on their own, an instructor might be able to make sense of this in a way that goes, oh, okay, I know what to do next. I'm going to focus on these teaching methods that are most highly correlated with the learning that is important for me in this course, and I'm going to move forward. So again, the new platform is designed to be intuitive, easily digestible, and helps get people up to speed rather quickly, that plan of action for what they would do differently the next time they teach the course. Now again, we're not leaving anything out. All of the information that was there on the previous form is included in this one. We're just allowing the ability to focus on what's most relevant. So this includes all of the feedback on all of the learning objectives, all the statistical detail. That's also available in that. Now, because we have this newer platform, it frees us up at IDEA to think ahead on how we want to better complete our mission, which is to improve student learning through feedback and assessment systems. So what I've just shown you is the diagnostic feedback. You're getting the feedback on the teaching methods, the learning objectives, those summary items, those course characteristics. You also still have access to the learning outcomes. Formerly, this was called the short form. Sometimes our clients don't make the connection that the short form is short because it's leaving out all of the information about the teaching methods. But it's still a useful tool, especially when you're talking about courses where it's an independent study, or it's a practicum, or it's a lab situation where the teaching part of it is actually driven by the student as opposed to from an instructor. So in our new system, you still have both the option to use both of these forms in whatever way makes the most sense, whether you're talking about an individual faculty member or specific kind of courses. But coming out in spring of 2015, we have a new instrument only on our newest platform here called Teaching Essentials, where we're looking at the 7 teaching methods that are most highly correlated with those summary items. And you get the feedback on how students are responding to the teaching in the class. For example, we looked a moment ago at stimulating student interest. So now you have more options here where you can create a scheme or a strategy for helping different kinds of instructors or instructors at different places in their career track. In some cases, it might make sense to let's start with the diagnostic feedback because we really want to see the connection between the teaching methods and the learning that's most relevant. In other cases, you may only use the learning outcomes. For some instructors, you just want to give them some feedback on how the students are responding or how frequently they're observing the teaching methods as you're working through particular teaching strategies and trying things differently the next time the course is taught. In some cases, a tenured faculty who already has tenure would get a different set of instruments, whereas the ones who are adjuncts would get a different set of instruments. So our newest platform offers you a lot more flexibility as you're thinking about how to get an assessment or an idea of this key part of the teaching and learning dynamic. But it also benefits the students as well, because any device that has access to the internet can complete the survey. So in the quad, at home, in a lab, in the class, any device, an iPod, an iPad, a Kindle, smartphones, they all can be used to complete the survey. It's been designed in what's called a responsive format. So the survey automatically adjusts itself to the size of the screen. There's no pinching or scrolling or having to navigate around. It's very intuitive. You don't have to download an app in order for it to use. It's also, the system is designed to use the authentication system that's already on campus. So the credentials that a student or even the faculty have to access the portal at the university or their learning management system, it's the same set of credentials. So you don't have to use a new username or a new password. It's also the same URL for everybody. All students get the same URL, and it takes each student based on their login to the courses that are in the system and faculty that are in there. This also has the ability to give you some more administrative reports. You can see response rates in real time. You can start toggling through how students are responding to particular questions on the survey in general. Again, all of this information, this is just a very short overview. We'd love to come back and talk with you more about how the system can be worked to your advantage. Now, one of the questions we're often asked about is, okay, so especially in the case of our clients who are familiar with the paper-based version of the IDEA system, and there's some questions about, okay, well, if we move online, how does that affect response rates? I want to start with another story. So I was at a client visit. I had a rental car that's fancier than my car that I drive every day, and so I had the Bluetooth connection with my phone, and this car is letting me find my directions and call people randomly without even taking my hands off the wheel. I was really excited about that. The push button to start the car, I kept the keys in my pocket the whole time. I had a great time. But my flight left at 5:30 in the morning, so I returned the drive to use the drop box for my keys, and I go to look for my phone to see if my flight is on time, and I can't find my phone. I went back out to the parking garage, and there was my phone sitting inside a parked rental car. Now, I'm not usually a criminal person, but I started thinking criminal thoughts. What happens if I smash the window to the rental car to get to my phone? What happens if I rip the lock box off of the rental car counter and bring it back to the car because I know the car will unlock and then I can get my phone? Or this wasn't really a criminal thought, but it wasn't a very good thought. What if I just miss my flight? But cooler heads prevailed. It was my daughter's birthday. No, I can't miss my flight. I've got to get home. So as I was flying home without my phone, I started thinking, why did this happen? Why was I having such an extreme response to being, separated from a telephone, from my cell phone? And it came down to two things. I promise this is going somewhere relevant. One was information. We live in, especially in the first world, where just like we have access to clean water and electricity, information is there. What time is my flight on time? How big is the Grand Canyon? Everything you want to know is pretty much right there in the palm of your hands. But the other part was connection. There's people that I dearly care about that especially when I'm traveling, I can keep in touch with through this small little device that I hold in my phone. And really, this is where this comes to play when we talk about response rates. We're asked, well, what's your average response rate? And if we're thinking about just information, just like if we think of our courses as we're just here to provide information, we're missing the boat. Information is everywhere. But if we think of and we understand that what we're really here to do is to provide a connection with the students, with ourselves as instructors, with the students, with one another, with the information that's most relevant, we're connecting them to the most relevant information. We're helping them navigate that process. If we get good at those things, then what we begin to see is students understand better. They have a value for participating in the surveys. It goes away from this arbitrary process of I just have to do this to get out of class to, oh, I see how this is connected to my learning. I see how it's connected to the larger goals of the institution. This second step, utilizing in-class capture, because any device that has access to the internet, it makes it very easy to replicate what would have been done on paper anyway. Reach in your pocket, take out your phone. We're going to spend 20 minutes. Please complete the survey. It also has the ability for students to go back. They can stop in the middle of the survey. They can finish it later. So you can start it in class, finish it at home, start it in the quad, finish it in class. There's a lot of flexibility. And then the last part of it is because it's all tied into that single authentication, the ability to monitor the response rates in real time, even at the faculty level. You can give constant feedback to the students. Half of you have yet to respond. Almost everybody's responded. Thank you. You understand why this is important. Please continue to participate. There's a lot of tools. So when we get back to this question of, well, what's your average response rates now that you're on this online system or in your newer online system? And my first response is, well, we've got to remember that this is a relational dynamic. We're talking about a connection that's going on here. And it's not that different from saying, give me a quantitative number to represent your relationship with your spouse. Give me a quantitative number to represent the relationship with your siblings or your neighbor. There's so many variables involved in here. But what I can say is our campuses that are really good at these three steps here. These are the three quote-unquote magic bullets. Our campuses that are really good at these three steps are seeing response rates at least in the 60% range, sometimes in the 80% range, and we're talking about individual courses in the 100% response range. So the tools provided in the system allow you to do really well at connecting students to the reason why the information is important. Now, in addition to that, we're here to help through the whole process of making this transition to the newer platform. So one-on-one consulting services, as much training as you need. We'll give you training for your administrators, for your faculty. We'll do that online. We'll do that over the phone. We'll come to your campus and facilitate that as well. And then we have online documentation, and we're just here to help facilitate that transition and that process all the way around. I'm sure that this raised many more questions. Please reach out to us on the website, pick up the phone, call us, shoot us an email. We really do want to participate with you in this process, but I just want to thank you now for the little bit of time that you've given me. We look forward to hearing from you in the future.